Hello, my friends. Good Erev Shabbos. Happy Friday. Followed by a wonderful, beautiful, and inspirational, uplifting Shabbos Kodesh. In this week's Torah reading, we have the final chapter, the culmination of the building of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. The tabernacle, again, was a portable Beis Hamikdash, a portable temple that could be taken apart and put back together, and traveled with the Jewish people for their 40 years in the desert. And then after they came to Israel, it was in Israel, built in a place called Gilgal, and it stayed there until it was finally disassembled, and the first temple was built by King Solomon. But in this culmination of building the Mishkan, we see something very interesting. After all the different parts were built, it was time to erect those parts, put them together, and no one could do it. Everyone tried, and it was too heavy to put together, and when they finally got it up, it collapsed time and time again. And people started to complain and wonder, what do we do? So they turned to Moses, and they said, help us. And he did what he always does. He turned to God, and he said, what do I do with this? It's too huge. No one person can erect this Mishkan, this tabernacle. And Hashem said, you're going to be the one to do it. It's going to be called by you. It's going to be put up by you, and then the Torah will say for all eternity that you set up the Mishkan. Because Moshe wanted that job so much. Moshe wanted to be involved in building the Mishkan and building the tabernacle. But Hashem said it was beneath his dignity as the king, the leader of the Jewish people. He's supposed to be the one assigning the jobs. And Moshe didn't like that. He wanted to be involved. He wanted to be with everybody else. And Hashem said, you're going to be the most important part. Since he wanted it so much, it's going to be erected by you and you alone. But Moshe said, how can I do that? No one person can put it up. He said, yes, you can. You put your hands on it. You give it your best. You try to push it up. And I will make sure that it goes up. And that's what happened. Moshe put his hands on each piece, and he tried and he strained, and each piece went into place. When in actuality, all he did was go through the motions. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mishkan, the tabernacle, was a microcosm of the Beis Hamikdash, the temple. The temple was a microcosm of the world. Everything that happened in the temple is a forerunner, is a show of how things work in life. We've talked about how the job of the way the temple was built was all the things that we're not allowed to do on Shabbos, and how Shabbos is our temple. But the temple is also our life. It's all a parable for life. And here we have Moshe put his hands on the Mishkan. He tried, he made the effort, and it happened, even though it was beyond his abilities. And God's telling us, that's life. A very good friend of mine one time said, we're in charge of the verbs. God's in charge of the nouns. We have to go through the motions. We have to make the effort. We have to try. And whether or not we're successful, that's completely and up to God. What the outcome is, completely and up to God. And that was how Moshe built or erected the Mishkan. Very interestingly, this Parsha comes out on the first day of the month of Adar. And we say, Misha Nichnas Adar, when Adar comes in, Marbim B'Simcha, we increase our joy. It's a mitzvah to increase our joy in the month of Adar. Why? Because in Adar we have the holiday of Purim. So we have many other months with many other holidays. Why, and nowhere else are we told to increase our joy in the entire month. And the reason is because Purim, we can relate to the miracles more so than any other holiday, because every other holiday in the Jewish calendar talks about these supernatural miracles which are hard to comprehend. God taking the Jewish people out of Egypt after 210 years of slavery. God splitting the Red Sea. Bringing the Torah down from heaven onto Mount Sinai. Things we can't relate to in the 21st century. But if you look at the story of the Megillah, the story of Purim, God's name isn't even mentioned in the story. And if you look at the way the things pan out, these things could happen in day-to-day life without even seeing how God works. Only when you look between the lines and you see we made the effort and God made it happen. That's the lesson of Purim, and that's the reason we can relate to it, and it gives us so much more joy than any other holiday, because this is the one that relates to our lives. When we see that we go through the motions and the final outcome is not our own. The final outcome is the Ribono Shel Olam, the master of the universe, the one who tells us what really happens, that everything is a facade. On Purim, we wear costumes. As a custom, children go around dressed up with their faces covered to show it's all a facade. Everything is a fake. In actuality, God made this world that we go through motions, we wear the mask, and behind the mask are the miracles. And that is the lesson of how Moshe put up the Mishkan without being able to, and how we're able to accomplish things if only we'll make the effort. Have a wonderful, beautiful Shabbos.